Buzz.
All right. So this is week 3, automations of my real estate abundance challenge, which is a 4-week challenge, which we've started out in week 1 with the main challenge and setting up your plan and getting everything downloaded to your computer. Week 2, we talked about your foundational pieces. We're going to go into all of this. I'm going to share my screen here in a second. But here we are, week 3, automation. So now we get all that stuff done, but what do we do to automate some of this stuff, right? Like, none of us want to be doing this business like every day. All the things that we do, from the social media content to the campaigns to responding to our people, like our new leads, calling all the time. Like, so much of this stuff can be automated that a lot of agents don't automate it. And I'm telling you, that's where the magic happens. It's in the automation. Even the follow-up now could be automated. And so, they used to always say that the magic's in the follow-up, which is so true, because we as real estate agents we think in scarcity and lack when we think that we need a deal right now. I need a deal right now. We all need a deal right now, but that takes the focus off of what we really should be doing, which is adding to our database, building those relationships, and uh creating all of the stuff with those people, like the automations, the campaigns, the newsletter, all of that kind of stuff. So that's what I want to talk about today, is those automations. So I'm going to share my screen, and hopefully I get this right with my computer the first time this time, and you guys are able to see my screen. Okay, can you see my screen? Can someone say yes? If you could see my link tree.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Perfect. I have a new computer and a new monitor, and it's getting used to me. So sometimes I don't know what's going on there. All right. So automations is also like the quickest week that we're going to do today, because there's not a lot to it. I'm going to tell you some of the things you need to automate. Your homework is to go figure it out. But I have a little bonus for you guys that showed up today. I'm going to share some automations with you that you could download and use from this point forward. All right, so here we are. I'm going to get this up here. I'm going to go to automation. So, quick overview. The first week, we talked a lot about mindset, building your plan. I shared with you in here, I shared with you that abundance plan download for you to download, and talked you through like week 1 in here and really figuring out what's your why. You guys all got a copy of this. If this is your first time here and you haven't been to the entire thing, watch today, download what you want, but come back the first week in July, because I really dig deep in the first week into getting this system all set up and what this system is. And the challenge starts at week 1, which is the mindset. But basically, it's these 4 pillars that we go over every single week. Week 2, we talked about the foundations, basically your CRM, your VIP database, using Canva, branding, all that kind of stuff. So if you were here last week, hopefully you got some of that stuff done. Now, there's a lot, and this is the beauty of this system, is that my expectation is not for you to have all this stuff done in a month. Like, there's no way. It's impossible. It could take you all month to just get your Lofty account set up and your campaign set up in Lofty. Like, it's a process. You have to implement now and perfect later. And that means that you get to keep coming back. So some of you have been coming for a few months, and some of you watch the recordings. It's all good. There's no finish line. Like, I'm still implementing now and perfecting later in my own real estate business and in my recruiting business, in my agent, in helping my organization, all of it. Like, but it's just a process that we just got to keep going through. So don't feel disappointed if you don't get it done. Just join me every week. Put this on your calendar and keep coming back. And I do something different every single week. So, but the foundation of it all is the same. I'm never going to change this because it's so important that these four pillars that we understand we're always working in one of these pillars. Everything that I talk about, you could subcategorize it in one of these pillars and know that, you know what, I'm going to tackle that on week 3 of July. I'm going to put that on the table for right now. I'm going to worry about it later. I'm going to focus this week on whatever automations or whatever it is that you're working on. You get to decide because you're the only one that knows where you've been. So, but here's the plan. This is all the stuff that we talked about in week 1. And now we're in week 3. So week 3, automation. And that's where we're going to go back over here to Canva and go through this. So I'm going to skip right through all this stuff because we already did all of that. And I'm going to stop right here on automations. So the very first automation that we all need to do is our time blocking. Who has a planner like this, or not like this, but a planner, a paper planner that you work on your business in, that you get all of your thoughts and all of the things you want to do down on paper so that you can um, wake up every day and know what it is that you need to be working on. So I start with this planner, and it's where at the beginning of the month I do things like this right here. This is me mapping out what I want to work on for that month. What do I want to get implemented into my business for that month? So for the month of June, it's been MailChimp and it's been LinkedIn. Those are my 2 main focuses. And so I get a little bit done every week, every day of the month, but by the end of the month, I know I'll be dialed in and I'll have both of those because I time block them. And I map out all of the different things that I want to get done. It's an automation. I don't have to continue to worry about these things over and over. I put it in my planner. I look at my planner and I figure out what day of the week I'm going to time block to do it. And I just do it. And so once you kind of get the time blocking system down for yourself that works for you, and that's the key point because so many people will tell you like there's one way to do it. There's no one way to do it. We're all so different. Our energy is different at different times of the day. Our brains work differently at different times of the day. Like for me, I'm up 5:30 every single morning. I can't wait for my feet to hit the ground to go get my coffee and get started on stuff because I'm excited about what I'm doing. And I love that. Some agents might want to sleep until 10 because they got their work done the night before. But the key thing is to time block the amount of hours like you were working for somebody else. Time block that for yourself so that you're getting 8 hours of work done or 4 or whatever it is kind of business that you want to do. When you were back in your plan and you were working on your goals here in week 1, your vision, where do you want to be? Like what's it going to take? What's it going to take for you to time block and get done so that all of these things happen? And you're the only one that can sit here and look at this and know, like, man, I really need to be dedicating like an hour a day to getting my Lofty account set up. You have a class, you're doing it like 1 hour a day. That's all you need to do. If you do 1 hour a day, by the end of a week, you're going to have Lofty mastered. You might still have some Q&A to go to, but that's like key. Like none of us should take longer than a month to get our Lofty account up and running and dialed in. So week 3 now we're talking about the automation. So I'll move on. So, but the first one is definitely the time blocking. So figure out who you are, what time of the day is best for you, and then time block chunks of time to dedicate to getting those things done. and time block from your abundance plan. Like the whole reason that we got in here and you're filling all of this out and you see your goals and you see your vision and you see where you want to be and all that stuff we talked about in week 1 is so that you know what you need to be doing. And you know from last week when we worked on the foundation pieces what you need to be doing. So you know what you need to be doing if you've been doing the work. And if not, I invite you to join us again in July because we're going to start all over. And if you got a little bit done this month, that's okay too. Just come back and give yourself like a pat on the back for just showing up to the call. Like, there's no I just don't want I hate to see agents be so hard on themselves all the time. And then they're hard on themselves and then they don't end up doing stuff because then they're in overwhelm. They're in a place of judging themselves, and there's no reason for that. That's not where businesses are created. That's not living in abundance and in where you need to be in order to create the business that this business can create for you. All right, so let's move on to a few more. And then look, you guys, that's it. That's it for week 4. Like we're going to talk about a few of these and then I'm going to share a little gift with you and then we're going to do Q&A. So, the first some of the automations that have really been important for me in my business is Google. Google Chrome, Google Drive, Google everything. I love Google Chrome. I love these folders. You see all my beautiful folders? I bookmark things in these folders so I know where they're at. Thanks.io, my mailbox, Boulevard Real Estate Media. These are things that Epic has. Now I could get to all of this stuff in the cloud too, but I like sometimes just being able to go straight to it. Um, love love Google Chrome for that. Google Drive, you're going to see because I'm going to share some stuff with you. So I keep Google Drive for everything. If you run out of space, just get a new Gmail. Like you can start over. You don't have to keep buying more space. Just get a new Gmail and keep your other one too. You guys should see how many different Gmails I have. I have a few. But Google everything. Learn how to use it. If you don't know how to do the folders, all you have to do is go to YouTube and say, how do I set up Chrome folders or whatever it is you're wanting to implement, just go to YouTube and that's where you learn how to do it. And it's so cool because you could just pause the video, go implement it, and then go back to it. And you could do it on a Saturday morning, a Saturday night, like whenever you want. All of the things you guys need to learn, they're in YouTube, they're free, and they're there for you to go and implement. So I love Google for all of that. Buyer and seller presentations. This is really important because it's important that when you, especially in it with everything that's going on with NAR right now, that you're able to create your buyer and seller presentation in a Google Drive and then just print it out and educate your buyers and your sellers. And right now, all of the things that we're about to learn over the next few months with NAR and the changes and the contracts and the commissions, like it's more important now than ever to educate these sellers some on how this works. Like, why do they still need a real estate agent to represent them? And what has changed? Nothing's really changed. Like the MLS just isn't going to put what the fee is. Other than that, there's still workarounds that are already being done. I got an email yesterday from maybe the day before from Social Bay with all their presentations and how they're working it in because we could still put out there that there's a commission being paid. It's just not going to get posted on the MLS. So now we have to figure out workarounds for that so that if we have a listing, it's our job to one educate the seller as to why they still want to pay a buyer fee. Do they want a buyer? Like you've got to pay a buyer fee if you want a buyer. So how do we express that? And we do that through these presentations and educating the buyers and sellers. But it's so important first that we get educated and we know what we're talking about. And back to week 1, where I talk about building your confidence, it's really important that we know the contracts and that we know what we're talking about. And so take the time and make sure to stay educated on all of that stuff. And then create your very own buyer and seller presentations and put them in a Google folder. And then whenever you have a listing or a buyer, just go print them out and boom, put them in your Epic folder. And then you're off, and you're able to say to your buyer or your seller, well, for one, for buyers, let's just talk about buyers. I love to meet a buyer at a coffee shop and buy them a coffee, because that law of reciprocity, whatever it's called, that law is so real. They're like, oh, that would be great. And then just sit down and ask them about themselves and like, oh, what's bringing you to Texas? Like, I just make it a requirement before I go show any property. And then I go through my presentation, which also lists a process. I have a sheet called the process, and I go through the process and I show them everything that we do. And then I tell them, if you like to go look at homes still, I'm just going to need you to sign this buyer rep and we'll go take a look at some homes, and just educate them through that. And moving forward, we're still going to do that the same way. It's just going to be that we'll have to do, we'll have to educate them that they're not going to ever sign a contract before knowing if they're going to have to pay the fee or if the seller's going to pay the fee. They're still going to have to pay us, but most likely the seller's still going to be paying that. But they need to know before they sign that they're never going to have to sign a contract before they do know. Lots of workarounds, lots of things. You're going to hear lots of presentations about that. I say go to all of them that you can over the next 3 months before that law becomes a law. All right, moving on. Closing spreadsheet, budget spreadsheet. All of these things are spreadsheets that you can manage in your Google Drive, and I'm about to share a few with you. So these are some of the automations that I find awesome. And I have a new logo that I haven't even put on these yet, but here is a budget spreadsheet that you could go in and edit, you're going to have to make a copy of this entire folder before you could do anything with it, because I'm going to have this one locked, but I'm going to share this with you. Here's a closing spreadsheet. Every time that you guys have a closing, go fill this in every time. And then every year, you're just going to name it whatever year, like 2024 closing spreadsheet. You're going to put them all on here. Actually, you're going to be able to transfer them uh, from another sheet that I'm going to give you called the board. You're going to be able to move them, and then you have this at your fingertips. If I go to my Google Drive and I look up closings from 2015, like they're all there. I have all the spreadsheets. I know exactly what my business was. I don't have to dig through folders and files. Now, in the 2000s, I did, because I didn't do all this. I was a lazy agent and I was a mess. It was only when I realized I had to get organized if I wanted to build wealth that I did all of this. And then I started teaching it. So now I'm going to share it all with you. So that's the closing spreadsheet. Here's the board. So the board is blank, but you're going to be able to keep track of your current listings, your current buyers, and all of their contract information is going to go on here. And then you're going to be able to see what you have under contract, and then your prospective buyers. And you guys can edit these. But this document right here, like, this is worth the cost of my entire class. Who agrees? Like, raise your hand if you agree. Like, this was worth every bit that you've paid for this course. None of you are paying a darn thing for this course. So I hope that you are finding value in it. So here, but look at this. Like, this was game changer. So I have a story behind this document, and that is that when I used to be at KW, so you got to change these years. I always just change it to the current year, but I'm going to leave that on there so you know. But when I was at KW, I used to have one of those big whiteboards on the wall, and it used to have all my listings and stuff on it. And I looked at it every day when I went into the office, and it was like just, my go-to. And then I would take pictures of it and have it. And then when I left the office and I didn't have the office and I went home, I was like, I missed my whiteboard. And I just thought, wait, I could have that on a spreadsheet. So now I have it on a spreadsheet, but not only that, it's in Google Drive, and I could pull it up on my phone, on my tablet, on my computer, everywhere, because Chrome is amazing. Google Drive, Google everything is amazing, and my entire business is just right here in this box. So, and then what you do at the end of the year, you take all of your closed files and you just copy those lines and you go back over here to the closing spreadsheet and put it in here. And then these are your closed properties that you did in 2024. Boom, you're done. And now you save that and you just keep moving on down the line. Like, and you have a business. Like, that's your business in a box. All right, so what other documents do I have in here? I created this a while back. I need to go update it. All right, here's a great document that I highly suggest everyone use. And I have a new logo. I need to really go do this because this logo's so old. But you go in, you can replace this. Once you make a copy, you're going to go replace this with your own logo. And then this is a timeline and the address goes right here. And then you go down here and this is what you fill in and add any more. Don't think that these are the only ones. You need to add any of the additional timelines that are on the contract to this. So this is the execution date. The termination expires. That date is so important. Upon receipt of survey and the title policy, you will have so many days. Like you just copy all of this information onto this, and then you insert your signature. And then I used to just keep a folder that I had all of these in the folder, and I would be able to look and see what I had going on for business. But you also can do whatever you want with it. You can put it on your calendar. You got to do whatever works for you. But the best part about it is being able to send it to your seller or your buyer. So my VA fills this out now and we send it to our buyers and our sellers, and I get a copy of it as well. And then I just save that copy on my phone. So that's a great document to have, a great automation. It's an automation. So you do it once and you just don't have to worry about it. Make sure if you do addendums, you go back and you edit it and you let your sellers or your buyers know too that you have an edited version. All right, so this is another timeline. What's this one for? This is a timeline. Oh, it's just a duplicate. Actually, I don't think that one's supposed to be in there, but oh well. And then here's the process. This is that process document that I was telling you. Replace it with your logo. It's the top document that I put into my buyer folder whenever I go sit and meet with a new buyer. And I let them know, Mr. Buyer, I'm just going to go over this process of buying a home and kind of educate you on a little bit of it, or at least educate you on how my team works. And then I just have a script that I've memorized over the years, and I just go through this and I talk about each one of these lines. I talk about the pre-approval and the buyer rep, and if they decide to work with me, we will require all of that to be complete before we go start showing them homes. I talk about the property search. I ask them, how would you prefer to search for properties? Would you like for me to do it? Or would you like to do it and send me home? Since we have the internet now and so many people love Zillow, half the time they want to send me the properties and send them before I even have time to go do a search. So I just kind of figure out what their expectations are for this process. So, I need to make sure that I don't have anybody in the waiting room, and I forgot about that. Are these available in Canva or under your website? Thank you. Linda, I'm going to share the Google Drive doc with you, and then you could go create your own beautiful ones in Canva. This was all before we started using Canva that I created all of these. So they do need to be put into Canva and made to be really nice. And I need to do that, but I haven't had time. So but I will be sharing it with you. So, all right. So anyway, you see, keep going. You just got to make this your own, and then this is something I send them home with. And I also send a copy of all of the buyer docs, any of the buyer rep for one, and then any of the disclosures that our company is requiring. I just send a blank copy of all of that in the folder, and I kind of go over it with them quickly in that presentation, but I let them know that we do everything by e-signature. And once they give me the go ahead, I'll send all of that, and then we could go look at properties tomorrow. Does that sound good, Mr. Buyer? And they're like, yeah, sounds great. Let's go. We want to work with you. You just showed us how smart you are and all of the things that you can do. So They want to work with you when you show them your value. All right. So the next one, oh, I already did the board. So that's all of them. That's really all of them. I'm not sharing the buyer, the whole presentation with you, but I will give you guys a little secret. So Canva has a lot. Our Epic Canva has a lot of buyer and seller docs in it and presentations, but also Etsy, if you go to ETSY, Etsy has some really cool ones. This is a kind of a a website where people can create things and then go sell it. So if you're not happy with what's in Canva, go here and search for real estate templates. And oh my gosh, there's so many in here and they're dirt cheap. So here's uh a buyer and a seller guide for less than $30. They're going to email, here's a $6 one. You just got to come in here and play around, and you're going to find so much content in here that it's automation in a box right here that you could just get and then take the time to go in and create it all. Look, here's a new agent bundle for $33. And you can see the stars, you can see how people do this. But we also have this all for free in the Epic Canva if you're with Epic. So I'm just trying to give you guys different ideas, and you might want something a little bit more fancy, whatever. But this all can be done. And the key is not in the presentation. The key is in how you present it. So practice makes perfect. Really make sure you take the time, especially if you're a brand new agent, to sit down and just practice your scripts like you're an actor or an actress. Just practice, practice, practice. I used to always go in and pretend like I was writing up a contract. Like if I wasn't busy, I'll be like, let me just go ahead and write up one and go through my script like I'm talking to someone. Get a stuffed animal and set it on a table and talk to the stuffed animal. Like practice, 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 so that when you sit down with your real people and your real clients, you sound like you know what you're talking about. So there's that. All right, so let me go back into, I got a lot of windows open here. I'm going to get out of all of this. First of all, I'm going to go to this and I'm going to share this in the share. I'm going to copy the link. I'm going to put this in the chat box. So any of you can go to the chat box that want this. Paste in. Okay, there you go. And I'm only giving this to the people that show up for the class. So if you're watching the recording, you might want to come to the automations next week, unless you copy all this right there. All right, so that's that. And let me see what if I'm missing anything else. Let me go here. All the things we're going to talk about in the days to come and that we've talked about before. Listings to leads I have on here, but you guys, Social Bay, if you're with Epic, can replace this. You do not need listings to leads. Social Bay is awesome and does all of this stuff. I'm still using listings to leads, but I only because I use Agent Hub 360 and that's their preferred company to use. They're talking about switching to Social Bay. I love Social Bay. And I did a Social Bay video yesterday and it's phenomenal. So I might be coming in here and just replacing that with Social Bay. My planner that I use, this is a link to order that planner. All of my recordings and everything are on my YouTube channel, which this will take you right to it. And so if you go, I don't know why it's doing that, but all of the recordings are in in the playlist for the Freedom to Flourish, for the Abundance. Somewhere in here they are. The Abundance challenge, Freedom to Flourish. I think this one. It's giving me a different view because it's my channel, so you guys will get a different view. Hi, Charlotte. You have a question? Go ahead. Charlotte?
Oh, do you use a hard copy calendar? You don't use
I do both.
Oh, okay.
I do both, and every day, every week, there's not a day that goes by that I'm not syncing my calendar. And I pretty much know if I have a hair appointment on Tuesday and I don't see that on my book when I open up my book for the day, that I need to add it in there. So I just sync. So I'm gonna show you what my hard copy looks like. This is crazy. Let me stop sharing really quick. And I'm gonna stop recording because that's about it. So I'm gonna stop recording.